realtors, 2% is the new 6%. In case you weren't aware, last week, the National Association of Realtors had a settlement with the Department of Justice regarding realtor commission. This was a really big thing that happened in the industry, and we're gonna go over everything that happened and what you need to know about. We're gonna cover what people are saying about this, how this is gonna affect the industry, gonna go over some math to show you how I believe realtors were taking advantage of people, who the winners and losers of this are, and whether or not I'm still gonna work with realtors in the future. All right, let's go. What people are saying about this is what you're hearing from one side, a bunch of home sellers and a bunch of people that invest in real estate, how great this is, how this is a long time coming from realtors, how this is completely overblown, and how they always were able to have a negotiation and that there wasn't artificially high commissions, but I'm gonna show you how that's not true. So let's go back to what happened last October. Last October, there was a court case in the state of Missouri regarding the National Association of Realtors and a bunch of home sellers. And the home sellers had made the argument in court that the National Association of Realtors and certain brokerages like Keller Williams were creating artificially high commissions. Now, the NAR weren't taking this court case very seriously. And so after both sides made their case, the jury went into the jury room, and within just a few hours, they came back and they found the NAR guilty, which was a shock to the NAR and to the real estate industry across the country. So what that did was they awarded them $1.8 billion settlement, that's billion with a B, and because the decision was so intense, the head of the NAR stepped down almost immediately. What happened was they were gonna appeal this case, but then after a while, just last week, they came up with a settlement. That way, there's no appealing because I believe the NAR was afraid they were gonna lose more cases on appeal and it was gonna be worse for them. Let's talk about what happened regarding the commissions. In case you're not a person who sells a lot of property, typically when you go to sell a home, the seller would have to pay 6% commission. And that 6% commission would be broken down as 3% for the seller's agent and 3% for the buyer's agent. And they would list that in the MLS. And the MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service. And it is basically the place where all residential property is listed for sale. I know that a lot of you go use Zillow or you use Redfin or another type of home sale aggregating website, but they get most of all their information directly from the MLS. And so when I would go and sell a property, I would go and talk to my real estate agent, which would be the seller's agent. I would negotiate a rate with my agent, their commission, which is usually 3%, and they would tell me that we're gonna have to put a commission on there for the buyer's agent, so that way they know how much the buyer's agent is gonna get for bringing a buyer to me. And I would give that information to my real estate agent, and then they would put it on the MLS, and that way the buyer's agent knew exactly how much commission they were gonna get. And my agent would always tell me, if you put a lower commission, like you put 1% or 1.5% or 2% to the buying agent, you're at a risk of that buying agent not showing your home. So the argument home sellers made in the decision in Missouri, these were artificially high commissions and that the seller should not have been negotiating the buyer's commission. So what this new settlement now says, when I go and list my home with the selling agent on the MLS, the seller no longer puts a commission on there for the buyer's agent. So what that means is now the buying agent and the buyer are gonna have to do more negotiating regarding the buying agent's commission. So no longer is the seller immediately on the MLS for that commission. Now, I'm not saying that the seller is not gonna pay any commission to the buying agent, but what I'm saying is it's not given right at the beginning. So now there's more of a negotiation between both sides. There's a lot of people out there saying home prices are gonna drop. I don't think so. I think that sellers are gonna price their homes at the same exact amount, and all they're happy about is the fact that they believe they're gonna pay less in commissions. Right now it's tax season and I'm meeting with a lot of my clients. What's happened is all the clients I've been talking to in the last 2 weeks, ever since this decision came out, they're thrilled about this because they believe that realtors have been taking advantage of them. You've got to remember, the way people build wealth in this country is they build it through 3 things. They build it through investing in equities, they build it through creating a business, and they build it through owning and investing in real estate. And usually people that are super wealthy always do 2 of the 3. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you called a travel agent to book your flight? When's the last time you contacted your stockbroker to buy some stocks? The truth of the matter is you haven't done that. And millennials and Gen Z are probably wondering, what's a travel agent? Who's a stockbroker? Who should I be calling? Because they just use their smartphone to book their flights or purchase their stocks on apps like Robinhood. So what's happened is the real estate industry and these commissions were poised for disruption. And the reason that they hadn't been disrupted is because of the NAR. So right now, realtors are totally in shock and disheveled by what's happening, but really this is something that was a long time coming. What I want to do is go over some math. I know a lot of you hate math, but I'm going to show you how sellers have been feeling that realtors have been taking advantage of them when it comes to their commission. So what I want to do is go over the real cost of commission. So let's assume that I purchase a home for $300,000 and I put a down payment of 10%, which is $30,000. And then I have a loan of $270,000. My monthly payment at an interest rate of 5.25% is going to be $1,491. Now let's assume that 7 years later, I decide to buy a bigger home. And for whatever reason, I decide I'm selling this home, I'm moving into another home, and it's because either I'm getting a new job in a new city or my family's expanding, whatever the reason is. What happens is 7 years later, I decide to sell the property for $400,000. At 6% commission, that 6% is around $24,000. You're always gonna have other costs when you sell real estate. It's gonna be some type of closing cost, you're gonna have seller concessions, tax stamps or transfer tax, home warranty. We just round that to around another $9,000. After 7 years of paying your mortgage, it's gonna go down from $270,000 to $244,000. And so the money that you get in your pocket after all this is around $123,000. Now you're thinking that's pretty good, but let's do a little bit of math. Assume that I didn't give the $24,000 commission. So my total net would have been $147,000. And then I ended up giving commission to these realtors for around $24,000, which was the 6%. That comes out to 16.3%. Now realtors are sitting there telling you, hey, it's 6%, yeah, it's negotiable, it's not that much, but the real cost to the person who owned the property, around 16% in this example, and sometimes it could be way more. And that's why I've had so many people come to me and tell me they're so thankful that this happened. Because think about it, you're the one that purchased the home, you're the one that's been paying interest for the last 7 years. If you actually calculate the interest payments, you've paid around $81,000 in interest over those 7 years. Plus anything you've done to the home, upgrading it, improving it, and then all of a sudden when you go to sell the property, you're paying these realtors around $24,000, around 16% of your profit. And that's why so many people were upset about realtors. I mean, I've had so many clients and made their spouse become a realtor so they could avoid the commissions. I know that I'm gonna get a lot of realtors saying, Lo, that's not true. You're messing with the math. It's not 16%, it's 6%. No, you realtors have been manipulating the math, trying to make us believe that you're not taking as much as you've been taking. And so everyone's hip to what's going on, and that's why so many people are thrilled with this decision. So who are the winners and losers of this? The winners are obviously homeowners, home sellers. They're winners of this because they're gonna pay less commission. Losers are realtors that are buying agents. The other losers are first-time home buyers. If you're a first-time home buyer, you don't know how to navigate this very well. Because normally what you would do is you would go to a buying agent, and that buying agent would say, hey, don't worry, it doesn't cost you anything to use me as your realtor, the seller's paying for it. That's not true anymore. Here's some advice I have if you're a first-time home buyer. The best way to navigate this is to find somebody you know that is well versed in real estate, either a friend or a family member that has bought and sold many homes, that understands everything with the process, that can guide you. Because first-time home buyers are the biggest losers of this. I've been an avid real estate investor for about 20 years, and I helped my cousin Nathan purchase his first home. He had no idea what he was doing, and now, 10 years later, he is like leaps and bounds way ahead of me in real estate. What am I gonna do if I'm selling a property in the future and I need to negotiate the buyer's agent? Because remember, now I'm a seller and I no longer have to list that commission. Let me tell you how I'm planning on handling this moving forward. Let's imagine that my wonderful, amazing videographer Dylan here is also a real estate agent on the side. And I've decided to contract Dylan to be my selling agent. And I go to Dylan and I say, okay, Dylan, I'm gonna sell this home for $400,000. I'm gonna give you 3%. Dylan goes, he posts the home on the MLS. 4 months later, he comes to me and goes, Romeo, I've got a buyer. The buyer agent called me and he said he's got someone who's interested in the home. He's seen pictures on Zillow, they wanna see it. But the buying agent is curious if you're willing to give any commission. I look at Dylan and I say, Dylan, that's great, not a problem. You remember that 3% that I've offered you? I'm gonna allow you to give any portion of your 3% that you want to the buying agent. I'll let you go ahead and handle that, and whatever it is that you decide with the buying agent, you can go at it. In other words, my position is, whatever Dylan's kitty is for making that commission, I will let him go ahead and take a portion of that and give it to the buying agent. So what I believe you're gonna start seeing in the future is this. You're gonna see either the agent is gonna give something like a small amount, like a 0.5% of their commission, or the other thing I believe you're gonna see, that these buying agents are gonna go the way of commissions that they do with rentals on the MLS. If you're not aware, when you put a rental on the MLS, usually the commission is a flat fee around $400. So if I have a rental and I'm looking for somebody to rent it, I call my realtor, I say, hey, can you please put this on the MLS? They say, no problem. If a real estate agent comes and brings somebody, you have to give them a flat $400. And I always say, not a problem. That is the other direction that I believe buyer's agents are gonna head toward. It's gonna head towards some kind of smaller flat fee package, just like when you're listing rentals on the MLS. Bottom line is, this settlement is a giant win for consumers overall. I know that realtors are upset about this and brokers are upset about this, but this is an industry that's been poised for disruption for a long time. And I know that companies like Zillow and Redfin have been trying to disrupt the market, and the NAR has been doing everything they can to not let that disruption happen, but it's finally come down the pipe. And so now, this is really, really good if you're a seller, because you're gonna keep more money in your pocket. Am I still gonna work with realtors? 100%. Like, I've used the same realtor for 20 years, and I'm gonna continue using her. I know that what I've said has upset a lot of people. I'm okay with that. Go ahead and let me know in the comments what you agree with or what you disagree with. And if there are any other topics that you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments below.